Hi, everybody. Welcome. Shidduch Roundtable. This is so exciting. Waiting for everyone to join. I see a bunch of people coming in. Hello. I will say that this is my first live ever. I don't know if it's because I'm not so technologically advanced or what it is, but I'm so happy to be doing my first live on Shidduch Roundtable. I think they are a very special platform. I think it's incredible that daters have the ability to really connect on this level and to really share their experiences and to also get an understanding that people are in the same boat and they're not alone. I think that's so important. So applause for Shidduch Roundtable, and I'm just going to wait another minute or two as more people join. Welcome. Hello. Gotta get my angles straight. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this, making sure all the lighting works and everything. So yeah, let's wait like another minute before we get started. I wish I had like background music here, and I can just do that as everyone comes in and welcome everybody. I will tell everyone that I'm gonna be speaking first, and then I will go back and look at everyone's questions or anything like that. I just feel like it's easier to do it this way. This way everyone can hear what I have to say, and then I can hear what you have to say, because I think that's really important also. I think that's probably why this is my first live. I'd much rather interact than just talk. So let's see what happens here. I do have a ton to say on confidence, and I'm very excited. I'm also a very big believer in writing everything down. So if you see me look down for a second, it's just because I'm looking at my notes. I'm making sure that I get to everything that I want to say, because I just have so much to say on this. I'm so excited to talk about it. Okay, so looks like we have a nice amount of people here. I do want to mention before I get started that Shidduch Roundtable is hosting an incredible giveaway. If you read a Shidduch now in the month of Rosh Chodesh is Wednesday, I think, right? So if you read a Shidduch in the month of through Rosh Chodesh Elul, you could enter it into a raffle to win 2 tickets to Israel or a cash prize of $2,000, which is amazing. But also, writing a Shidduch in and of itself, you get incredible schar for that, incredible reward. So even not being entered a raffle, it's a great idea, but this just gives you the incentive to do that. So do that, read a Shidduch. Even if you don't get somebody married or find them the one, thinking of somebody is huge and makes them feel so good. So do that. Okay, let's get started. Hi everybody that's here. And yeah, let's begin. Okay. So let me just introduce myself. My name is Hanna Kahana. I did not pick that name. Hashem did, because that's my husband's last name. I am a certified life coach. I specialize in dating and the first year of marriage, really for 2 reasons. Number one, I'm really passionate about it. It really speaks to me. It's something that I really enjoy. And number two, I think there's such an importance for it. And, as I do this, I've been doing this for about 5 years officially and probably all my life unofficially. But I see as the years go by how much there is a need for it and how it can be so beneficial for so many people. So that's why I chose to focus on that. I think I've always kind of had a passion for interacting with people. I've always enjoyed it. Even when I was like a little kid, my mom, she has a jewelry store. I'm not going to promote or anything, but the Burgundy Room, you can check her out. She's still in business. So when I was little, my job in her store was to basically offer people candies. And I would, stand up behind her showcase, and I was really short. I was like 4 or 5 at the time. Stand up on something else so that I could be tall enough, and I would offer people candies. And that interaction with people and making people smile, even for like a second, always made me feel so good. And I feel like that carried over throughout, just making people feel better, giving people that clarity. It just really makes me feel good. So I'm really happy to be able to do that. I also wanted to talk about the importance of coaching just really quickly before we get into confidence. I do not get commission or anything like that on this. I just think that it's so important that if you feel like you have any questions, or if you want to gain clarity on anything that's going on in your life in terms of dating, or even just like a life coach, it's so important to reach out to somebody that you feel like you could connect with. I can't tell you how many people tell me all the time that when after we've spoken, that there's just a certain sense of like an aha moment, and they're so happy that even if it means that they stop dating somebody, they're still so happy to be able to just get that clarity and speak to people, and get that understanding that this is either for them or not for them. But having a coach help you figure that out is just really, really important. So let's talk about confidence. That's why we're all here, right? Okay. So I think the biggest question we all have is like, what is confidence? Like, what does that mean? How do you define it? Where does it come from? Can you just pick it up at the grocery store? I would assume it would be like in the vegan section, because confidence just seems like healthy, organic maybe. So maybe at like the grocery store in aisle 6, organic, vegan section. But how do you really, obtain it? And I think first, really, how do you define it? So I like to define confidence really in 2 ways. Number one, I think confidence is about kind of being comfortable in your own skin, not overthinking things, not second guessing yourself, just really being comfortable with the decisions you make, with the way that you conduct your life, right? That's confidence. And then number 2, and I think that most important of all in regard to confidence, it's recognizing your positive and negative attributes equally. And I think that's so overlooked and really just completely disregarded when it comes to confidence, is that people think that, okay, so I'm just going to say how amazing I am over and over and over again, and then I'll be good. And then, it kind of hits them in the face when something bad happens, or they were not confident in a situation, or they didn't behave the way they wanted to, or they didn't show up the way they wanted to, and they get so kind of just, upset or flattened by this idea. So really, it's so important to recognize both the positive and negative, so that you understand your entire self. You understand everything that makes up you, right? It's not just the positives, it's the positives and the negatives. And it's coming to be able to accept both. Now, obviously, if there's a trait that you're looking to fix or rectify, that's one thing. But it's first important to understand both the positive and the negative. And really kind of, we see that a lot in the Torah when it explains these 2 concepts, that basically you kind of should have one in each pocket, which is Anochi Afar Ve'efar and Bishvili Nivar Ha'olam, right? So it's one pocket, I'm created from essentially dust, earth, from nothing, I am nothing, but also the world was created for me. And it's so interesting because it seems like these 2 are the opposite, but really they're both the same side of a coin. They're the same thing. You need to be able to recognize both, so that you have that balance and that you have that confidence. So I think that, practically speaking, one of the most important questions that comes up is really how do you obtain that confidence? So you sit down, you make your list of your positive and negative attributes, and you try to accept both and recognize both. But then how do you attain more confidence, right? Let's say you're at a 2, 3. How do you go to a 7, 8, right? Not 10, because nobody's perfect. But how do you get to a higher level? And I think that's, one of the biggest questions that everyone has. How do you gain confidence? And I think that one of the biggest ways to gain confidence is after you've recognized your list, right? After you've made your list and you're really comfortable and acknowledge both your positive and negatives, look out for moments that support your list, right? In the positives. Like, for example, if you wrote down that you're a good listener, then look out for that, right? If it's a Tuesday and you spend an hour on the phone listening to your friend complain about something, and you just let her complain, and you're good about it, and you don't try to shut her out, or you don't try to just make up an excuses why you have to go. You're good, and you listen. So point that out to yourself. Recognize that you are a great listener, and this past Tuesday you spent an hour on the phone with somebody, and pat yourself on the back, and pocket that information. Remember that the more that you are conscious of these little positive things that happen, the more conscious you will be of your positive attributes. And I feel like oftentimes we tend to be so much more conscious of our negative attributes, because I feel like it's just human nature, and we tend to look out for that more. And we can list off 10 things that we're not good at, or things that we're doing terribly, but when it comes to really thinking about what we do well or what we're good at, it takes us a minute, and it takes us some time. So really focusing on actual actions that support your list, I think is so important, because I feel like that's the best way to really activate more confidence, to point it out in your life. I did that good. I did that well, right? That's so important. So that's number one, just recognizing when you do well and when you do something good. That's number one. And then I would say the next thing is that don't beat yourself up when you had a day that you were just off, that you were trying to make things happen, you were trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone, you're trying to really just prove to yourself that you can do a good job, but it didn't work. And it's so important to recognize that there is an ebb and flow to confidence, and it's not like, I reached 10, I'm done, I'm good, I can sail through life, because that's not how it works, obviously, right? Like, there is always that wave and that ebb and flow, like I was saying. And so your goal should always be to have more positive or more good confident days, I'll call them, than not. Or even confident hours, if you want to break it down a little bit more, if that's too big of a goal for you. But the goal should always be to have more confidence than not. Not that I need to always be confident and always be on point and always be the best me, the best version of me, because otherwise I lost the game. And I feel like that's really like where we end up kind of self-sabotaging, because we say, all right, I had an off day, I'm done. And I think we all do this a lot. We do this with kind of anything that's going on, right? A diet, or anything. Oh, you eat a piece of chocolate, I'm done. Forget it. I don't know why I'm on this diet anymore. And you have to kind of train your brain to be like, no, it's fine. I'll do better tomorrow. So really keeping that in mind, that it's not like a black and white type of thing when it comes to confidence, and that you're in that gray area for the most part, is really, really beneficial to helping your confidence progress as well. And then that brings me to my next point in terms of how to produce confidence, is setting realistic goals for yourself. So this also plays into the idea of recognizing that you're not going to go from 0 to 10 in confidence. It's, if you are struggling with being more social, don't expect yourself to go from never going out with friends at all to hosting a party, right? That's just unrealistic, and you're going to set yourself up for failure with that, because you're expecting too much of yourself. So break down your goals into much more small, achievable goals, because the more that you are able to kind of achieve and reach something small, the more incentive you have, and like that gives you the impetus to continue and move on and keep going. And that's how you get to that huge goal. And it's really like that with anything in life, right? Like, nothing happens from just doing this major action and then you're done, you're a changed person, you're an entirely new person, right? It's these little small things that seem to be nothing, but in the end are everything, because it doesn't, it's this little small action that you take, that all of a sudden you do it every day for 1 hour, and then you do it for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden you find yourself completely changed, because it happened gradually. And that's the most realistic way to change when you do it gradually. So giving an example, going back to the example of somebody who's more of a homebody, right? So set yourself a goal to maybe hang out with friends once a week and speak to somebody on the phone every other day, right? Like, don't make it too small of a goal, but don't make it too big of a goal. And again, this can be tweaked, and if you need to speak to somebody, do that, just to write it out, get your thoughts out, and kind of come up with realistic actions that you can take that get you out of your comfort zone, but don't make you feel like you're completely, off the field, however it works, out of bounds. Sports terms, I'm not great at that. But you stay on the field. Okay, so set realistic goals. That was, I think we're number 3. Then number 4 is, I hope we're at number 4 because then everyone's going to get messed up if you're writing this out. There's this concept of fake it till you make it. And I think it's so important to kind of like sprinkle in a little bit, because there is that element of kind of forcing yourself out of your comfort zone, and pretending to be, comfortable in a situation where you're not typically comfortable. If you're out with friends and you're just automatically overthinking what you're saying, or you're on a date and you're feeling like, hold on a second, I have to ask all these questions. How am I coming across? What do I appear? How am I looking? So when you feel yourself getting in your own head a little bit, anchor yourself with that goal that you set for yourself, and remember that I'm gonna fake it till I make it a little bit. Like, I'm gonna pretend I'm good. I'm gonna pretend like I have a lot of confidence. I'm gonna pretend that I'm at an 8 when it comes to confidence, even though I'm maybe at a 4 right now. But when you exude a certain amount of confidence, even if it's not real in the beginning, it becomes real, because it becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of your subconscious a little bit when you just continuously do something, right? It's just human nature. You continuously do something day by day, it just becomes second nature to you. It becomes habit. So there's definitely that element of just faking it till you make it, just a little bit, not too much, because again, it has to be realistic, it has to be attainable. Okay, so that's, I think we're at number 4, or however's keeping track of that number. That was number 4. Number 5. I cannot stress this enough when I say that recognizing that everyone lacks confidence in certain areas. And I think I need to put this on a bumper sticker, maybe make t-shirts about this. I don't know. But I cannot stress this any more than I already tried to. But it's so important to remember that anybody that, stresses you out a little bit in the sense, right? Like if you're going on a date and you're so nervous and you feel like you can't be yourself because you feel like you're going out with somebody that is maybe out of your league, or even if they're not out of your league, you just have this overwhelming feeling of, I can't be myself. I'm on show. I don't know what to do. That confidence. I don't have that confidence. Just kind of zoom out of that scenario for a second and remember that everybody lacks confidence somewhere. Nobody is 100% confident proof. Nobody is, nobody's made it when it comes to confidence. Your boss, the person that you're dating, your teacher, they all have something that makes them nervous, something that they feel they don't do well, something that they need to work on, something that they need to tweak. And when you remember that, it kind of brings them down to your level, and it makes you feel like, okay, we're on the same page here. Okay, not so bad. I can work with this. I can fake it till I make it, and I can kind of pretend like I have some confidence, because I remember that they also aren't so confident. And I think something that helps with this idea that everybody lacks confidence is really making it real for yourself, right? Like, so if that means even thinking of your date as a bad speller, or something silly, but it really just kind of brings them down a level and makes you feel like you can be yourself more. And that's very, very important. Right? The ability to be comfortable in your own skin, right? That confidence is really what helps throughout. And then that really takes me to my next point on confidence, which is that, whenever you're working on a goal, whenever you feel like, all right, I need to change something, I need to fix this, I need to be more confident, right? aside from obviously recognizing it's something that you need to do and understanding that it's important to tweak and fix, there's also has to be like an incentive there, right? There has to be something that makes you feel like I want to do it because I recognize the positives. I recognize that this will get me to certain goals, or this will make me feel a certain way. So obviously, everyone knows having confidence is great, but like, have you ever thought about really some of the positives of being confident? So I want to kind of bring up some of the positives to help you, with this goal, and to kind of just keep it in the back of your mind. And before I get into this, I actually just also want to stress that these are my thoughts on confidence, and obviously people can have a little bit of a different mindset. People can have a different idea. The point is really to open up the conversation and to really just think about this idea of confidence, and that it's attainable, and that even if it's, if you don't agree with everything that I'm saying, like that's fine. You find your own way. It's more to be able to kind of open up the thoughts in your mind, and maybe you're going to think of a different path, but the idea is that you come up with your own path. That's the point of all this. So if you don't feel like this is exactly tailor-made for you, that's fine too. You can pick and choose and tweak as you need, and spice and salt as it works for you. But the point is to work on it, and the point is to think of how to season your pot so that you do come out with a fresh dish of confidence, if you want to use that analogy. Okay, so some of the positives of being confident. So number one, and this is a very big one, it really helps create healthy relationships. Relationships between husband and wife, or whomever you're dating at the time, if you're not married yet, and friendships as well. It's not just about dating, but it carries over into friendships as well, and even family dynamics. Having confidence, it really helps to create any sort of healthy relationship that you want to have in your life, because when you have a healthy sense of self, when you recognize what you bring to the table, and when you don't overthink everything that you say and do, then you don't rely on whatever relationship you're building to create that confidence for you, right? Like you don't rely on your friend, or you're not relying on the guy you're going out with or the girl you're going out with to bolster your confidence. Because when you do, then it's very fleeting. And when that person is not giving that to you or not showing that to you, then it really hurts the relationship. So when you come in with your own confidence, you're able to basically support the relationship better. And if you have an argument in any relationship that you have, right, when you're married, when you're dating with a friend, if you have a certain level of confidence, you are able to zoom out and recognize the other person's perspective and really understand where they're coming from, because you're not taking such offense to what they're saying. You recognize that, it's not necessarily about you as a person. It's maybe you did something wrong, but that's okay. We're allowed to do something wrong, right? Recognizing a negative trait right there, but it's fine. I'm allowed to have negative traits because I have positive traits too. I have that balance. So it really helps in any sort of relationship that you're cultivating, because when you have an argument or when you are trying to just create something healthy, confidence is needed, right? And you also at the same time attract healthier friends and attract a healthier partner when you are confident. Because if you are not confident and you're coming in, needy and in an unhealthy mindset, then what are you attracting, right? What type of friends are you attracting? What type of husband, what type of wife are you attracting then? It really sets off so many things that you may not even think about. Number two, another positive thing about being confident is that it is extremely attractive. It's extremely attractive for men. It's extremely attractive for women. When you have confidence, there's a certain aura that you have around you when you're confident, and people feel that. It's a real thing. When you come into a date and you don't have to even be saying much But when you have that confidence and when you're able to carry any conversation, it could be the dumbest conversation, it could be the greatest, deepest conversation, but when it's delivered with confidence, when it's carried over with confidence, it really just is so attractive to whomever you're trying to, reel in. So keep that in mind. That's a huge goal, and that's something that would really kind of like incentivize you to work on your confidence. It's because it's so attractive to whomever you're trying to attract. Number 3, I will say that when you're confident, you have the ability to deal with adversity so much better, right? If something comes up, if there's a problem, if something complicated happens, right, you're able to, I think your ability to zoom out and problem solve and to look at things objectively is so much easier when you have a certain level of confidence, when you recognize either, your ability to problem solve something, or you recognize that this is not an attack on you personally if you're having an argument with somebody, or if you're dealing with something difficult, but then you're able to pull from your positive attributes and say, wait a second, I know that I can do this because I've done X, Y, and Z in the past, and I've been able to handle this very, very difficult situation. So you know what? I can do this. I actually can do this. It's difficult, and I'm not happy about it, but I'll be okay. And so, that's just another huge positive thing about confidence, is being able to problem solve so much better because you recognize what you bring to the table and you recognize what you're dealing with. The last positive thing about being confident that I wanted to talk about was this very important point about not relying on others to create your happiness. When you're not a confident person, when you don't use yourself to make yourself happy, like when you don't do things for yourself that will put you in a good frame of mind, and when you don't have that certain sense of self, then you rely entirely on others to create that for you, right? And as humans, I think it's very normal that we want to secure that for ourselves, right? You want to feel good about yourself. When you don't create the ability to make yourself feel good, and you just, you look at it from other people's perspective, you look at it, from others, you want to, you look at it to get it from others, and you're waiting for other people to give that to you, then it gets very, very difficult to stay happy because it's very fleeting, right? Anytime that somebody says something mean, automatically your confidence is gone because they said that mean thing, and you can't rely on yourself to make yourself feel better, to self-soothe in a way. Then it's very, very difficult, and you end up, more often than not being upset and being sad because somebody said something mean or somebody did something that you didn't like, and you're relying on those people to create that happiness for you and that confidence for you, right? And when you look towards others to ensure where you stand in life and your status, then also it can go up and down in a minute, right? Because somebody looks at you the wrong way in the grocery store and you're like, oh, I'm not attractive anymore. I guess not, because that person looked at me in a weird way, so I guess I'm not attractive. Or if somebody didn't laugh at your joke, oh, I guess I'm not funny anymore because that person didn't laugh at my joke. But when you're confident, then yeah, it can sting when somebody doesn't laugh at your joke, and you can say, all right, but I know I'm funny. I know I am. I know I'm funny. That's something that God gave me. I'm a funny person. So you're able to move past it, right? You don't sit in it, and you don't then look at yourself as a unfunny person because, hey, that person didn't laugh at my joke. So that's just the last point that I wanted to kind of bring up with confidence, is that when you're able to provide that confidence for yourself and that sense of self, that understanding of what you bring to the table. And I know it's not easy. It doesn't happen in 2 minutes, and it doesn't happen overnight. But when you're able to see that as a goal for yourself and to set small markers to reach that goal, the positives are endless. And most importantly, the ability to make yourself happy is something that creates the healthiest relationship. I can guarantee you that. Because when you come into a marriage, when you come into any sort of relationship, being able to make yourself happy is what makes you happy in a relationship. You shouldn't be looking for somebody to create that happiness for yourself. You should be looking for somebody that enhances what you've already created. So I really hope that this was helpful. I'm going to go through all the questions now that I had. So bear with me. But I hope that this was just helpful as like an eye-opener. And anything that comes up out of this conversation that you want to reach out to me, you definitely can. Hanna Kahana Coaching. I'd be happy to speak with you. Okay, so let's just go through some of the questions that were asked earlier. Give me a second. I'm going back here. Let's see. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, there's just a lot here, so give me a second. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so let's do this one. What would you motivate for a girl in a wheelchair to find a good bacher, I think you were trying to say here, to obtain my confidence? Okay, so that's a great question. I think that you shouldn't define yourself by the fact that you're in a wheelchair. I know that obviously it's a very visible thing, so it's something that impacts your life on the daily, of course, but I don't think that should be your defining, like that should be how you define yourself, right? Like I feel like you should recognize everything else that you bring to the table aside from your disabilities, right? Because that's, again, not just recognizing the negatives, but also recognizing the positives, and look for that positive list to be able to kind of bolster your confidence a little bit, so that when you do get a suggestion or you do get read to somebody, you're coming in with that level that is already above where you were, right? So then you're not coming in as a girl in a wheelchair, you're coming in as you with all these positive attributes, and oh, by the way, I'm in a wheelchair. And having that confidence and coming in with that aura and that presence really helps to take away from, the negative. So that's just, one thing to keep in mind. I'm going to go to some of the other questions that people sent in earlier, just because I think that will make things faster, because I know that we're kind of over on time already. So give me a second here, and let me go through some of the questions. Okay, so one of the questions from, I don't know if I paused for a second. One of the questions from earlier was, how can I rely on myself to make a good decision and say no if I feel like something is not going anywhere? So that's a very good question. I feel like that happens a lot, where people don't know how to rely on their own, their own self, use their gut instincts and be confident in their ability to say no to something. So I think it's very, very important to draw from past experiences and ask yourself, hold on a second, my gut is telling me that when I said no to this last guy because I didn't feel like there was that chemistry, didn't feel like there was that attraction, and I didn't feel like this person was for me, and I was right. So my gut is telling me the same thing here. I'm not seeing chemistry, and you have to also verbalize the reasons why you're saying no. So if there's no chemistry, if there's no physical attraction, a bunch of things together, verbalizing them and recognizing them, saying that out loud should really help to affirm that, okay, I think I can be confident in my decision, and I think that I should be able to say no if I really feel like, X, Y, and Z, and these are important factors that I'm not seeing here. So if you have trouble really getting that confidence, right, then speak to somebody, speak to a dating coach, have that sounding board to understand why you want to say no, and then use that for next time. You don't have to speak to somebody every single time. You can also draw from an experience that you had a different time when you spoke to somebody, and lean into whatever your decision was last time if you felt like you were right. So it's very important to learn from past experiences and lean into those experiences. I think that's all the time that we have. I'm sorry. I know that like I went a lot over. So I'm gonna end it here. Don't think there was anything on the. I know there were previous questions that were not sent in. Give me a second. That I don't think I actually have access to right now. So I'm just looking through the comments to see if there's any other questions that were posted here. Not seeing anything that I didn't get to. Okay, looks like all the other questions were sent in earlier. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think that's it. Anybody else that had questions that were sent in previously, I will answer them and just post them online. I just can't access them for some reason. It's not letting me go back and read it to you. So I will do that separately and just post it. You can go to Hanna Kahana Coaching and see it there. But I just wanted to thank Shidduch Roundtable again for hosting. This was so great, and I hope that this was helpful. Have a good night, everybody.